Rose Hathaway and her best friend Lisa Dragomir are two teenage vampires living in disguise. A year earlier, they left St. Vladimir's Academy, a boarding school, and have been traveling from place to place since then. Rose, a blood guardian in training, promises to protect Lisa, a Moroi princess, at all times. Moroi are royal vampires with magical powers, while guardians are considered lower-tier vampires whose only function is to protect the Moroi at any cost. One night, while she sleeps, Lisa dreams of the car accident that killed her parents and brother 2 years earlier. Rose also has the same nightmare, as she shares a one-sided bond with the princess, which means she can see everything Lisa does and observes. Upon waking from this horrific dream, Rose rushes to Lisa's room to ensure she is okay. However, the princess feels weak because she hasn't consumed blood for days. Seeing Lisa's hunger, Rose offers to feed her. Moments later, Rose notices that the Academy's guardians are watching them from outside. The two girls quickly gather their things and try to escape, but the guardians see them. Rose uses her training as a guardian to defend herself easily. But a Russian guardian named Dmitry Belikov overcomes Rose in combat and takes the girls back to the Academy. Upon their arrival, they are attacked by Strigoi, who are the true nightmares of guardians and Moroi. These monstrous creatures are immortal vampires that only come out at night and can be killed only with a special weapon, a silver stake. Strigois are made, not born, and only a Moroi can become this kind of monster if they drain the blood of a person. In time, Dmitry and his team manage to defeat the Strigoi with the help of a guardian named Spiridon. They then enter St. Vladimir's Academy, a vibrant academic environment for respectable vampires from around the world. Here, Moroi are expected to master elemental magic and become users of fire, air, water, or earth, while guardians learn hand-to-hand combat to become competent in protecting the Moroi. The Academy was founded by a legendary Moroi named Vladimir, who supposedly possessed a particularly rare type of magic. The Vampire Secret Society is quite established and has created a government that selects a ruler based on an alternating cycle. The new ruler must come from one of the 12 royal families, and Lisa's family is one of them, making her a potential heir to the throne. This explains why it was such a huge scandal when she left the academy with Rose. Meanwhile, upon entering the school grounds, they spot Lisa's ex-boyfriend, Aaron Drozdov, who now has a new girlfriend named Mia Rinaldi. Not long after, Rose and Lisa go to meet Ellen Korova, the headmistress. She is furious about what the girls did, and now wishes to give them a severe punishment to make them pay for their actions. However, a frail man named Viktor Dashkov enters the room and convinces the headmistress to be lenient with Lisa and Rose. Viktor is a trusted family friend of Lisa's, and the two girls are quite concerned about his deteriorating health. During their stay in the office, Rose notices that a beloved instructor of theirs, Miss Sonia Karp, is no longer at the school and asks Ellen about the situation. But this only irritates the headmistress. In fact, Ellen is so displeased with Rose that she wants to expel her from the academy. However, Lisa uses her compulsion skills on her, which leads Ellen to withdraw the punishment immediately. Upon leaving the office, Rose recalls a moment when Lisa had not yet declared her magical ability. Lisa can manipulate all the elements, but has yet to find her true calling. Suddenly, Miss Karp tells the princess not to worry about the situation, as she also had not declared her magic in the past. Miss Karp says goodbye, and in an unusual moment, a crow flies and collides with a statue, injuring itself. At that moment, Lisa saves the dying crow, while instructor Sonia watches the rare scene from afar. Returning to the present, the two girls resume their lives at the academy and go to their respective classes. However, Lisa is not having a pleasant experience, as Mia and her friends are bullying her. Rose, on the other hand, participates in her training classes, where she reconnects with her old friend Mason, who has a crush on her. Shortly after, Rose notices that Lisa is talking to Christian Ozera, a royal Moroi who is the socially excluded one at school. Christian's reputation precedes him, as his parents voluntarily turned into Strigois. Just like Lisa, Christian also lost his parents, creating an understanding between them. Later, Rose hones her skills by participating in special training sessions with Dmitry. During training, Dmitry informs her that her bond with Lisa is rare, and that she needs to perform well, as she is the ideal guardian for the princess. After that, Rose, exhausted from training, decides to meet with Lisa, and the two head to the cafeteria, where the Moroi casually feed on the blood of humans. While Lisa is having fun there, Rose runs into Viktor, who asks her to take care of his daughter, Natalie. Rose and Lisa become friends with Natalie, although she seems to be a loud and awkward girl. Later that night, the three go to the school church, where they see Jesse, a Moroi who has a particular interest in Rose. On the other hand, Natalie has a crush on Jesse's friend, Ray. Shortly after, the Mass begins, and the priest speaks about how Saint Vladimir, the blood guardian who shares a bond with him, helped him overcome his difficulties. Out of nowhere, the Mass is interrupted by an explosion near the entrance to the church. When Lisa runs to see what is happening, she discovers that someone left a horrifying threat at her family's memorial. Rose suspects Mia is responsible for this childish prank, but this only irritates her even more as Mia continues to deny the accusations. As a result of her anger, Rose acts impulsively and sets up a steamy date with Jesse. The next day they meet and soon start kissing, but Jesse wants to feed on her against her will. Fortunately, Dmitri shows up to help. Suddenly, Rose activates the bond again and realizes that Lisa is shaking upon seeing a dead fox hung at her door. She immediately rushes to calm her down. The next day, Mia makes a joke implying that Lisa was feeding on Rose's blood while they were away from the academy. Ray and his friends also decide to butt in and make things worse. Christian, who is in the same class, gets irritated with Ray and sets him on fire. Not long after, the scandal involving Lisa feeding on Rose reaches the Queen, resulting in ridicule for her in front of the entire school. After this embarrassing incident, Natalie and Rose try to look for Lisa in her room and find another threat on the wall that seems to be written in blood. Lisa enters the room moments later and finds the shocking scene. As a result, she decides not to be a submissive victim anymore and plans to use her compulsion skills to turn everyone against Mia. Rose is against this plan but cannot change her friend's mind and leaves. As she exits, she bumps into Christian, who wants to check if Lisa is okay after the incident with the Queen. There's something happening between Christian and Lisa, and it's evident to Rose that they have mutual interests. But she is not much of a fan of Christian, so she decides to sabotage their relationship. The next day, Rose attends her regular training session with Dmitri and notices that she is developing feelings for her instructor. Later, they go to class, and Rose senses the bond again. As expected, Lisa uses compulsion to persuade Mia's friends that the rumors about Jesse and Rose are not true. At that moment, Christian passes by and completely ignores Lisa, which confuses her as she doesn't know that Rose sabotaged her relationship. Later that night, Natalie and Rose decide to investigate Mia's laptop, which they stole from her room. They discover that Mia once dated Lisa's deceased brother, Andre, who may have treated her poorly. This experience would explain why Mia despises the entire Dragomir lineage. Time passes, and Lisa continues to use her abilities, which worries Rose, as it is slowly transforming her into someone else. Later, Mason approaches Rose and reveals that Jesse and Ray have a suspicious band-aid wrapped around their wrists. They decide to investigate further and quickly suspect that Mia and the headmistress are also involved in the intimidation of Lisa. Afterward, Rose decides to break into Ellen's office in hopes of finding something useful. She then finds a videotape explaining what happened to their instructor, Miss Karp. As the recording was cut off, all Rose knows is that Miss Karp is mentally unstable. The next day, at church, Rose sees Lisa finally finding a place among the popular kids and showing up again with Aaron. Meanwhile, Mia is off in a corner, desolate after being abandoned by everyone. Moments later, Rose looks toward the back corner of the church and finds Christian, who also seems to be in a bad mood. Rose decides to approach him and confesses that she intentionally ruined his chances with Lisa. She also asks for his help in finding more information about Lisa's abilities, but Christian is very upset with her and declines. That night, Lisa throws a party where she showcases all her magical powers. However, the excessive use of her abilities affects her health, and this also reflects on Rose. Witnessing all of this, Rose leaves the party and Lisa chases her down. They have a spat, and Lisa discovers that Rose sabotaged her relationship with Christian. Both are extremely upset, but then Natalie shows up and says that something is following them. Suddenly, they hear a distant howl, and Rose suspects it is a fierce creature known as a Psyhound. She leads the other girls to safety, and they find Lisa's backpack on top of a fountain. Inside the bag is Lisa's pet cat, Oscar, who is now dead. Lisa is shocked to see her beloved cat and tries to revive him, but fails and collapses from the excessive use of her powers. Suddenly, huge cuts appear on Lisa's arms, which brings to mind Rose's recollection of Miss Carp telling her that she is a vampire marked by shadow. She also remembers that it was Miss Carp who told her to flee with Lisa as she wasn't safe inside the academy. However, Rose didn't remember any of that because she was under a compulsion trance. A few days later, Rose demands to meet with the school council and reveals everything she knows. She also shares about Lisa's rare abilities and that she needs help. However, the school council considers the information absurd and refuses to believe her. At that moment, Rose becomes increasingly agitated and quickly demands that the headmistress show her the continuation of Miss Carp's tape. The headmistress agrees, and soon after, Rose discovers that Miss Carp transformed into Strigoi to rid herself of the agonizing effects of spiritual magic, which is the same ability Lisa possesses. With Miss Carp's departure, Rose doesn't know whom to ask for help, but Dimitri suggests that Christian might know some books that will answer all her questions. Thus, Rose visits Christian, and this time she finally gets him to help her. They soon discover that Saint Vladimir also possessed spiritual magic in his lifetime, but this magic is extremely powerful and incredibly harmful to the user's health. After the search, Rose says goodbye to Christian and leans in for a friendly hug. However, Lisa sees them and starts fighting with Christian, believing that they are involved. Christian tries to explain the situation, but the princess keeps insisting, so he kisses her to silence her. However, she pulls away and leaves while Rose runs after her. The two girls then enter into a heated argument, but Rose trips over a hole during the conversation and hurts her ankle. A few hours later, Rose wakes up in a hospital and discovers that her ankle is healed. She immediately gets up and reconciles with her best friend. Suddenly, Ellen, the headmistress, appears after hearing that Lisa really possesses spiritual magic and soon forbids them from going to the Equinox Ball. Fortunately, Victor and Natalie convince the headmistress to let them go. Later, Victor organizes a shopping day for the three girls, where Dimitri and Spiridon accompany them. When they return to the academy, Natalie gives Rose a necklace she wanted to buy at the mall and says it is a gift of gratitude from her father for keeping her safe during the ball. Rose discovers that Mia is not responsible for Lisa's cat's death, which means a greater threat is on the loose. Meanwhile, Lisa reconciles with Christian, but Mia suddenly interrupts and attacks. As a result, Lisa leaves the ball, and Rose knocks Mia out for her bad behavior. The Guardians lock Rose in a room and forbid her from going to the ball. Suddenly, she activates the bond and discovers that Lisa is being kidnapped. Shortly after, the headmistress walks into the room to sedate Rose, but ends up sedating herself. Rose seizes the opportunity to escape and runs to Dimitri's quarters, only to get distracted. The situation gradually intensifies, and they end up making love. However, Dimitri realizes that the necklace has a spell on it and breaks it, freeing Rose from her trance. Immediately, Dimitri takes Rose and a fellow guardian to find Lisa. Rose discovers that Christian sneaked up to the truck because he also wants to help with the rescue mission. However, she doesn't pay attention to this and activates the bond again to try to locate Lisa. In her vision, Rose discovers that Victor is the man behind the kidnapping and Spiridon is his ally, as he contracted a chronic disease. Victor, who should be in line for the throne, now needs Lisa's spiritual magic to regain his title. However, curing the old man would mean that Lisa would have to sacrifice her own life. At first, the princess refuses to do what he wants, but she is tortured and eventually cooperates. Lisa quickly loses consciousness as Victor regains his strength. Before long, Dimitri and the team arrive at Victor's house and begin to fight the guards. Meanwhile, Lisa is actually alive and manages to escape by herself. Seeing the situation, Victor releases his Psi-hounds and sends a helicopter to take Lisa away, but the plan fails when Rose and Christian take out the pilot. Suddenly, Christian is hit by a bullet from Victor and tries to shoot at Rose next, but fails when Dimitri subdues him. To their surprise, Victor summons the Psi-hounds, but Christian quickly uses his last energies to burn the dogs. Seeing that Christian is about to die, Rose offers her blood so that Lisa can use her spiritual magic. Quickly, she manages to heal Christian, but faints along with Rose. The next day, Victor is placed in a secure cell, and Rose descends to talk to him. In the middle of the conversation, Natalie appears and transforms into an out-of-control monster. She frees Victor and soon explains how she became a Strigoi by draining Ray's blood. She also claims to be responsible for the death of Lisa's cat, Oscar. Then, she continues to attack Rose, but ends up being defeated when Dimitri stabs her with a silver stake. Meanwhile, Victor also hasn't managed to escape, as Dmitri previously subdued him. A few days later, during Queen Tatiana's speech, Lisa intervenes and makes a speech of her own, announcing her declared spiritual magic and talking about how Moroi and Guardians are equals. She also thanks Rose for always being by her side. Moments later, Rose finds Dmitri, who confesses his feelings for her, but they cannot be together due to their duties as guardians. Rose then gives him a gentle kiss on the cheek and says goodbye. Now, everything seems peaceful for everyone at the academy, but they do not know that in a cave in the mountains, Sonia Karp and her horde of Strigoys are about to attack.